Yes, definitely. If you want, you can do it. Dzień dobry Państwu. Bardzo jest nam miła Państwa gościć na kolejnym spotkaniu w ramach 11. Krakowskiego Festiwalu Komiksu. Będzie to spotkanie z Max Sarin, fińską artystką. That was good. That was bravo. So it will be held in English. I hope everyone will understand. Basically, I'm very happy to welcome you because we had no luck before in meeting together. You were actually invited for the first time in 2020, and we had to cancel the festival just 10 days before it. How do you remember that?
I remember that it was when the pandemic started, and my girlfriend just asked, like, "Are you still going to Krakow?" And I said, "I have no idea. They haven't told me anything." I think not.
Yeah, that was.
I know it's sad, but I was just like, "Oh, they must have so many things going on with them at the moment, so I'm not going to bother them about this at all."
Yeah, it was a good intention. We were trying to, keep the festival as long as was possible, but eventually 10 days before it, we had to cancel and to mail all of you that it will not happen. So this time we have war, a little different obstacle. Did you hesitate to come?
No.
No.
Because, well, we are in Poland.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very good answer.
But my girlfriend was worried that Russians will drop the airplane I came on, and I just said no, it won't happen. I have too much work to do. So I just said,
very good attitude.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. Okay, but you living in Finland, you're not very much farther from the conflict that we are here. I mean, it's basically the same geopolitical theater.
We have the same neighbors in a way. Well, you don't have the same actual neighbors, but we've been...
We actually do. We have a small exterritorial Russian enclave at the Baltic Sea that is nearing Poland. I mean, we have a common border, so...
Oh, well, my condolences.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's switch to more interesting subjects, which are comic books, of course, and this is why we all gathered here, and especially your comic book that is called
Giant Days.
Giant Days, and probably sorry.
I still got it.
Yeah. Well, how many issues is it already?
It's 55 issues altogether, I think.
55.
Yeah, I think I drew almost all of them. But
you jumped in around the second issue, yeah?
Issue 7, and it was volume 2?
Yeah, volume 2, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because Lisa Treyman, she wanted to get married, and she went to work with Disney, this small company called Disney. Never heard of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I got the job.
Yay!
It was.
Have you been excited?
Before Giant Days, I haven't really done any comics. Well, I was studying comics in Glyndŵr University in Wales, but it had taken me 6 months to finish an 8-page comic. So I was really slow. And then
the average is what, like less than 1 per month? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really slow. I was perfectionist in the worst type of perfectionist, so I never got anything done. But my teacher knew John Allison, and John was saying, "Oh, I don't have an artist for Giant Days." And Dan was like, "Hey, I know a bloke." Well, alas, but anyway. And Dan gave my Tumblr to John. John gave it to his editors. And the editors contacted me like, "Hey, do you want a job? Will you draw us 2 comic pages?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I drew them in 2 days. Yeah, it was amazing and weird.
You were surprised by that, I guess.
Yes, I was. And then they were like, "Yeah, you're hired. Can you do 22 pages in 2 weeks?" I was like, "Yeah."
Sure.
Sure, absolutely I can. And I did. And I was like, "Yeah, I did it in record time." Oh, and now I got the next script. Oh boy. And it was the first 6 months where it's like, it felt like I had been in my small garden, gardening a small, nice flower, and suddenly a train came from the sky, ran over me and into me, and I was in that train flying across the sky and had no idea what was happening, and that was Giant Days.
And that was roughly how long ago?
It was 2015.
All right.
So I was still in university, and I had to do my
To pay your loan.
the graduation dissertation. I had to do my dissertation.
All right, the final, you mean the
Yeah.
masterpiece?
Yes.
Yep.
And again, I'm perfectionist. I kept doing my dissertation. I had to do it in comic form because I can't write academic papers at all. But even then, I was being a perfectionist, trying to draw it by hand. And my teacher, when there was only 3 weeks left of the whole school year, told me like, Max, you just have to do it. And I was like, yeah, but the characters are not quite there yet. And he was just like, no, do it. Just do it. And then I just did it in a few weeks.
So you needed a push. So how is it? Because you're living in Finland and you're working for an American publisher.
Yeah.
And so how does it work? I mean, we are living in the time of the internet. I am aware of that. But
it works quite okay. But sometimes I had to stay up late because otherwise I can't get fast replies from them. And sometimes I have noticed that I work the weekends as well, but not everyone in there. So I have to get answers by Friday if I want to have any answers by the weekend.
I guess your good knowledge of English was an asset as well when you were applying for that. I mean, it's easier for them to work with someone who speaks and writes than...
Yeah, I speak quite fluent English, not always, but for example, when I was in university in Finland, I'm so bad at academic learning that I failed 2 English courses. Mm-hmm. But I ended up having a degree in English, so.
Not bad, after all. So you do communicate with the writer, and both with the writer and the publisher and the editor, I guess. Do you have an editor?
I usually only speak with the editor because in American publishing houses, it's always the editor that I speak with, and the editor is the hand between me and the publisher. And the publishers never speak to me. They're just like...
But they pay. You see the name on the paychecks, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, that's enough, I guess. It's pretty enough. So how does it work with the writer? I mean, after so many issues, I'm guessing...
I think John Allison, is one of the nicest men I've ever met, nicest people I've ever met. He's like a walking cinnamon bun. He's just a perfect cup of tea. He's kind, generous, very understanding. And for example, I had a mental breakdown twice during Giant Days, and he was just like, I know. We still like you. Well, he's not that front, he's English, so of course he's not that front, well, British. But he's really nice, and we've kept in touch, and whenever, for example, in January, I made another comic for him, for his webcomic, and it was so nice to work with him, because he has this raw talent with characters. He doesn't make stories. He tells the stories the characters live through. So he can make a story compelling even if it's just about tying your shoelaces right, because he's so invested with characters.
Do you have any input to what he writes? I mean, after so many years, probably you have a few suggestions?
He can, if he wants to ask me, I usually answer. For example, this idea we had about for his comic, he asked, we were just chatting about something, and I was just like, oh, it would be so nice to have this and this. And he was like, oh, I can write that. And when I was drawing Giant Days, he was very empathic with me, for example, saying, I made a crowd scene, I'm so sorry about that. And for example, he wanted to make an issue where Daisy is learning to drive a car. And he was like, can I do that? Because there are so many cars to drive. And I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Because with John, I have complete trust in him. Because with him and his requests, I've been able to become a better artist.
And the editor, they always are a little bit pain in the ass. They might be, at least.
They not. I had Jasmina Amiri in Giant Days for the first time, and she actually did her job and edited me and told me like, oh, these two panels look too much the same. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she had to tell me 3 things to change throughout our, projects. But yeah, operation, because she and I trust that editors tell you what to do, what looks good. If the editors are a bit of pain in the ass when they are very American. For example, there was a live drawing scene in Giant Days. I have no idea if you already have had that.
Well, we have.
Sorry?
What was the question again? All right. He asks about the changes that the editor does. Is it on the level when you have a storyboard, or is it like when you have the panels ready?
It's usually because I did pencils mostly. I didn't really do storyboards. As said, I'm really slow. I'm dreadfully slow. I'm too slow for American comics because in there you have to do 22 pages per month or 22 pages per 22 days. And so they were just saying, yeah, just send us the pencils, Max, because otherwise it will take forever for you to do anything.
Then they scan them and they make some magic in the Photoshop to make them look like ink, yeah? Or?
No. There was an actual inker for a time, because when I had made the first 6 issues, they informed me, oh, we are going to continue the series. Do you want to draw it? And I was like, no, I don't want to, because I was afraid that I was just too bad at it and that I can't handle it. But they got another inker for it, Liz Fleming, and she has inked the majority of the pages. Unfortunately, it was really upsetting for me because my pencils are really strict, again, perfectionism, and it's really a ball in your leg, chain and a ball in your leg, to have perfectionism. I never recommend it to anyone.
I guess it's not something you can choose, but please
please
do not be one. But you started talking about the inker. I mean, you said like you had a good connection, but
I had we didn't really have good connection. She did her best and she did stuff in her style, which was really annoying for me because she changed my pencils in a way I didn't approve.
Intense.
Yeah, but I never complained because I don't want to complain. Complaining is horrible.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that you really use this American style of work on Giant Days. I was supposing you do the whole job by yourself. I mean, pencil plus ink. So now you have a different inker, yeah?
Now I do my own inks because after Liz, with Liz, I can't remember which issue it was, but it was. I don't want to give any spoilers. Does Daisy have a girlfriend? And they're together.
There was something that happened in 9th volume, and just got the 10th one, which starts with Daisy talking with Ramen.
Yeah, during on 10th one, I will start inking myself.
I have number 6 here. Okay, so it's like
So in volume 10, I start to ink myself because I went and told Liz that I don't like her drawing a lip pillow on characters, and
she definitely has a girlfriend already. So
yeah, that's her, and that's her inking. Yeah.
Give it to us. We're gonna base on that. Yeah, that's the latest issue, number 9.
Okay, let's see if it's. Yeah, that's not me. That's when I had a breakdown, and it was another artist. That was another artist.
That was when Lise was called back.
No, it's Maris, Julia Marigold.
All right.
Julia Marigold drew that, and she drew the first 2 issues, but I think, yeah, there's my inking. There's my inking because, and I was happy to ink because...
I wouldn't spot the difference, really. I mean, is it like the inkers you are working, that you know, work with your pencil where you cannot, are trying to imitate your style so much to...
It's like, there was this one scene where Esther walks into the school and she's being just really posh and dramatic. It's where she's trying to be really good at lecturers. And I drew her really beautifully, and she was like really stunning. And then I saw the inks, and I was like,
I don't like it.
it looks horrible for me because I don't want to be so blunt because I know people are all doing their best. I don't want to be nitpicky. But for that, I realized that I was doing a job that wasn't being seen anywhere. And it was really frustrating for me. That because for me, the small expression things, they are really important. And sometimes a character was smiling, but when it was inked, she wasn't smiling anymore. And it was really frustrating for me. So when Liz left, and they asked me, do you want us to find you an ink? No, I can do it. I can do it really easily. No problem at all. And I have been inking myself since then.
And how long per day you are working? I mean, it's how long per day are you working? What are your work hours in general, average?
It really depends. Before my meds, I have ADHD. It was diagnosed just less than a year ago. It took me 12 hours or something to finish a page, more or less. And sometimes it took 2 days. So I was really, really slow. And sometimes, for example, I could spend hours on a single panel, which is idiotic. If there are comic makers in here, any creators or writers? Hello? Never spend hours on a panel because the readers will pass it in half a second. And for example, with me, if I look at my early work, I worry that it's too clinical, it's too stiff. I wanted it to be perfect, and it's further from perfect because it's so stiff and it's so... you can see my anxiety from them because I'm being too nervous in them.
So I was basically interested because you do, this is the only thing you do. I mean...
Yeah, it was. Hello!
I'm sorry for a second. This will work. So, yeah, this is the only thing you do.
Yeah, it was the only thing. It was my bread and butter.
Because as you say, there is not much more time left to do anything else. So.
Yeah, it's like I used to live by myself, and for example, when I had deadlines, I had procrastinated. I also procrastinate a lot.
You find time for that too.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's like I keep spending hours and days on a single panel, and then I could just look at the ceiling and be like, oh, there's a ceiling. Oh, 2 hours has passed. Oh well, time for lunch. And what was the question again? Good medication.
You know, music, movies. What distracts you, and what helps you to focus? I mean, my wife is an illustrator, so you know.
Yeah. I listen to horror podcasts like No Sleep and stuff, which have short stories. And for example, if I look at Giant Days, the pages, if I look at it, I was like, oh, it's this story. I can recall the stories that were in that certain issue, and I can just say, yo, this is the place where the zombies happened.
So does it affect the mood in the book? I mean,
it's just like it's good to listen to something. I like to listen to stories. I can't watch anything. I used to tell myself, oh, I can watch game walkthroughs.
With my one eye on the movie and another eye on my work. Yeah?
Yeah, and it ends up me watching 3 seasons of something and realizing I haven't done any work. So that happens as well.
Yeah, it's podcast.
But, and so before that, I used to have like, again, when deadlines happened, I could spend 5 days just drawing night and day. And then after the deadline was over, I just rise from the dead. There are teacups and plates everywhere. And I'm just like, I haven't showered. I haven't seen the sky.
For ages.
Yeah, and now I have a girlfriend, so that doesn't happen anymore, but she keeps pestering me to try and get a normal schedule as normal human beings, but she doesn't understand illustrators.
Yeah, I know that. I'm trying too with my wife. Okay, so I wanted to ask about the original art. Is it an important part of your business plan, let's say? I mean, does it... do you sell them? Is it...
Sometimes. I still don't understand why anybody would want my art. And it's imposter syndrome. I think many of you also know that as well. But it always comes to me as a surprise that anybody knows who I am.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, some people. Hello.
So is it American market or European market, Finnish market? Is it something like a Finnish market at
in
all?
Finland, I'm nobody, absolutely nobody. Except when I won the Eisnerze, I got invited by the president to the Presidential Independence Ball. Because Finland is weird like that. Do you know that...
was it fun?
What?
Was it fun?
No. It was absolutely horrible. I was standing behind a door, just trying to breathe. I was like, there's so many people in here. And the only reason I went there is because I made a jacket, or I got a person to make a jacket that had all the art from Finnish comic artists, because I wanted to bring up the situation that the Finnish art, and especially comic artists, don't get enough funding in Finland. So that was the reason why I went there. And I did that, and then I phoned my mom and said, can we go now? And I really want to eat because I can't move in this jacket. Because it was really poorly made and I couldn't lift my hand more like this. And you have to greet the president during that evening and everybody handshakes. And I just wanted to say, low five. But I couldn't. I was just like, hello. And I tried to drink things like this and I couldn't, so.
But I guess after the Eisner, there was a lot of,
Yeah, there was a lot
fuss around it.
Yeah, there was, and it was really strange to me. I'm a very personal person. Ugh.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
okay.
It's like
a human.
I'm very
being.
much of a cat. I like people when I like my own people, but if you come too close to me, I can be like, no, I'm just going to go under the table, and it's really, really embarrassing to go under a table when you're being interviewed. I don't recommend it.
So, are you meeting the rest of the team? Have you been to the US?
Nope.
Or
I met John a couple of times.
but in Finland or England or
In UK, I met him twice, I think, in Lake Comic Festivals, and I met him somewhere else as well. Oh yeah, we met in Scotland. We were invited into a small Scottish comic festival, and he was lovely once again. But we do talk a lot in Twitter, many times, and I do consider him as a friend, even if the word friend in English is quite loose. You know, you can say, oh, we are friends, we only known each other for 2 days, and in Finnish language that doesn't happen. We have the word ystävä, and ystävä is someone you've known for long, and you can tell fart jokes to each other
so
without any shame.
At least 2 decades.
Yeah.
Can't be 2
or
days.
2 days if it's the right person.
I see.
I have one of those, and he's amazing.
No, I was interested because you say you're a kind of an introverted person who likes to stay home. So I was interested if you travel, especially abroad, where you are a big name after all. I mean, in America, it's probably huge interest in. Do they invite you
No,
and
no,
you
no, no, no,
refuse,
no,
or
no, no.
they don't invite you?
I think it's more that they invite writers, that they don't have that much interest in artists.
How strange! We don't do that in Poland at all.
No, 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 no.
That's true. I mean, actually, we only invite the drawers. And when Steven Desberg came to our festival, no one really was interested to listen to him. Sorry, Steven. I mean, it's like our market is a little bit strange. I mean, we like the artist who can draw something.
Yeah, because as well, when I was reading comics when I was younger, I've read comics always, and I always enjoyed the art. But I did enjoy the story as well. But I think it's a writer can write that, oh, there will be an epic fight scene here. There will be a Godzilla and Smurfs, and Betty White will be there beating drums with her boobs. But it's the artist who has to draw it, after all. Now I have inspiration.
So let's dig a little bit into the story. I mean, obviously the characters are you obviously like them. I think you have a lot of fun drawing them.
Yeah, the girls are amazing. They're so easy to play with. People usually, sometimes they, for me, the characters are really lively. I don't have to force them to be on the paper because they just come there, they do as I'm directing them to do in my head, and they're just like being themselves. And after years of just like being with them, I'm happy to say that I know these girls, I know how they act, I know what they are doing and what are they...
facial expressions,
yeah.
gestures, how they react on things, yeah?
Yeah, and it's nice familiarity because I know that the body language is different with every single one of them, and I know who is capable of doing what.
So how detailed are the scripts you're getting? How
detailed?
Yeah. How detailed, yeah.
Not that much where I trust John completely. John trusts me. He usually just says like, oh, Esther is pouting and saying this, and
Right.
Ed is grimacing about something. So there is a small suggestion of what is happening, and then I just take what I want from there. And usually John is just he's such an easy person to work with. I don't think I will ever find a better person to work with when I have a writer, because he was my first one. That sounds wrong.
Yeah, but
But
we get the
we
point.
all know. But he put the pedestal so high that nobody else can climb on it, in a way. But it's okay because he has earned it. He's so nice.
What about the settings? I mean, it mostly happens at home, or at the campus, but sometimes you have like different settings, like a castle, and so.
Yeah, it's usually.
Are you free to invent them, or?
Mostly, but John is also really good at giving me references. Like he's just saying, do something like this. Or for example, I did a small comic for him just this January. And he was just, he gave like, here are the pictures and here is a SketchUp version of the building I want you to draw. Right. So it's only helping. And for example, his Christmas gift for me was that backgrounds were only, rocks and caves. So no buildings, because he knows that buildings are really hard to draw.
Well, I was curious because the reality of the American campus is completely different than what you can find in Finland. So I'm curious what you are using for a reference. I mean, do you get pictures or watch the teenage movies from America too?
Because all of that is actually based in UK.
Oh yeah. Definitely, I totally forgot. This is England.
No problem. Because it's in UK and I lived there for 4 years.
Okay, so I have
altogether.
a good knowledge of the.
Yeah, and because Street View is amazing. Street View is the best thing ever.
So you just pin the pin.
Yeah, I just go in there and I have a virtual walk and I'm just like, oh, this is a nice building. I shall draw this.
great idea.
Yeah, I do recommend it. I mean, any kind of photo reference is a good help for me, and also SketchUp 3D models are really good. I wouldn't survive without them. And I use also Clip Studio Paint, which has 3D models in it, and you can buy different. For example, you can buy a freaking tank in it, and you can just like, oh, now I can draw tanks in here.
So about the character design, we have a small gallery by the end of every issue, every book, and of course the recurring characters have to look the same. But sometimes we get a new character, and they have some room to to experiment with how they look. And
Usually, if John has a certain idea, he will give it to me. But sometimes he's just like, draw a grumpy old man. I'm just like, okay. Can do. And for example, when I drew Daisy's parents, he was just like, do something like that, and he was fine with it. But I usually enjoy.
We actually have them here.
Yeah, that was just a small doodle I wanted to draw. I wanted to make a print out of it, but then I was thinking, perhaps I shouldn't. So.
Well, they did it for you, as you see.
Yeah.
So.
And because I enjoy John's drawings, I enjoy his character designs, even though I have complained to him that his female characters look too much the same.
Okay.
Many times. They have these certain small features that are always the same, but then again, I'm the same as well.
I mean, sometimes it's hard to have a writer who is also a drawer. I mean, it may be a little bit overwhelming when the writer expects a certain look and has his own idea how they should look. Does it make any conflicts between you?
It makes sense, but from John, I've learned that I would rather have a comic knowing and comic making person to ask me to write a character than a writer who doesn't know anything about, well, not that's rude, isn't visually capable.
Skilled, yeah.
Yeah, because then they might have a vision, and if a writer,
it's even worse.
yeah, it's the worst kind of scenario. It's like the writer comes to you like, I want this character to be pretty, and it's like, okay, I do a pretty character. Now that's too fat. Okay, here that's too white. Okay, now fine. That's too black. Fine. That's too thin. And you just keep on doing and trying to, and you try to ask like, oh, do you have any references? No. Look at Kim Kardashian. Okay, why? But it's like this, and that's why I do prefer a person who has like, oh, I think he should have a big nose, and that's it.
Good. Back to storyline. I mean, have your experience in Scotland been anyhow similar to what we can find in a book? I mean, there's a group of female friends living on the campus, so you've been studying in Scotland.
In the UK, but in Wales. Wales, Scotland, England.
Sure.
No, because I'm just warning you, because when I went to Wales, and I was like, oh, England, this is so nice. And this cashier was like, I will fucking kill you in Welsh. And I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's the same if you go in Finland and you say, oh, Sweden is a nice place. And people will just stare at you and hate you, but they will still offer you coffee.
So again, was the life of yours in the UK anyhow similar to the stories that you are showing now? I mean, I'm looking for a source of good understanding of this type of energy, group energy.
I have no idea. I was a bullied kid. I didn't really have friends, but characters in books have always been friends for me. But with these girls, it's kind of the opposite what happened. Usually it's like you put yourself in the comics, but these guys helped me get past my own troubles. For example, if I had a fight with my mom, and Esther had a fight with her parents. I don't know if that has happened yet, but anyways, it's not big. Nobody dies. Sorry, that's a spoiler as well, but still.
It's a good type of spoiler. So.
Yeah, but it's like I learned to forgive myself many stupid things because I realized, oh, Esther did that, and I like Esther, so this is fine. So unfortunately, I can't give any insight, but I just know that I could. I found solace in them myself.
So is it more like it is a group of friends you would like to have,
Yeah.
being that age?
Yeah, because I think it's they are good. I have friends now, thankfully. I'm not a complete loser. Actually, if you don't have friends, you're not a loser either. But you get the gist.
I mean, you got Eisner, you have a girlfriend. What more you can,
Yeah,
expect?
Yeah, my girlfriend wants another dog, so I don't. Our dog is huge, white shepherd, 45 kilos.
Good. So we are 45 minutes behind, so it's a good moment to give you a mic and an opportunity to ask a question, since many of you have read the book. So,
Yeah.
yep.
No math questions. I'm really bad at math.
All right.
Recently you've worked on Harley Quinn, yes, and I haven't heard anything about what are you working right now.
At the moment, after Harlequin, they asked me to take part in the next issues of Harlequin, but I realized I can't do American comics anymore because the pace is too fast and I keep letting people down because I can't meet my deadlines. So I told my editor, like, I'm really slow. And she was like, yeah, you are, but you are nice. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I can't do this. And she was like, oh, bugger. Can you do just a cover? Yes, I can. So I'm doing a cover and 10 pages for the next Harlequin, and I'm planning on doing one of my old comics as well. At the moment, I'm doing commissions, and I'm thinking about putting up a Patreon at some point and putting original comic in there, which will most likely be just like a bit sketchy, so it won't be finished, but it will be updated, 5 times a week, and that's my hope. So that's the idea, that I can just get a story out of my system, because it has been there for 20 freaking years. Yeah.
And was it fun working on Harley Quinn? Was it fun for you?
That doesn't seem like.
Yeah, I hate, because people are different. People are really different. I know that many person would kill for an opportunity to work with Harlequin, because I know that she can be a blast. But for me, because she's such a copyrighted character, she's a known character, and you can't really play around with her. So even the writers have to keep on surface level. And as said, I've worked with John, and he goes into the character and just like is in there. And with Harlequin, we only stay in the surface. It's like
Not much can change with her.
Yeah, it's like you can't be real with her. I mean, I tried to make her as real as I can. I wanted to make her look like, I didn't want her to be sexy all the time. I never want any of the characters be just like, if they are posing sexy, I want them to look a bit funny. Anyway, because I have a cousin who used to be, she was really boy crazy, and when she was 14, she was just like trying all these other different poses in front of my big brother and his friends, and the guys were just looking, doesn't that hurt? And I agree with that, and that's why when I draw, I want someone to laugh. When they put the book down, I want them to have a smile. And with Harlequin, I didn't feel like I could give that to people. I wanted to give the smile to them whenever I could. But I think with Harlequin, I would have failed that mission in the end.
And can we expect any more projects with John?
Yes, I said I'm not sure. He has the webcomic.
Stipple?
What?
Stipple?
Can't remember.
It was January, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, I drew a comic for him in January. It's 22 pages of his Steeple, the comic. Yes, thank you. Sorry. I'm really bad at hearing and understanding. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I made one issue for him, and it was a blast. And for example, when I was doing the Harlequin one, I kept telling myself, 1 more month, and I get John. 1 more day, I get John. And I kept telling him just like, you are the only light in my life right now, and I'm just reaching out for you. And it was like coming out of the dimly lit room into this nice autumn day when I came to. I love autumn. If you hate autumn, then sorry for you. But for me, it was just like perfect breath of fresh air to work with John. It was like, all the scripts are so clear. No one is sexy. And if they are sexy, they are just funny sexy. and the jokes are actually funny. That sounded really bad. But John is genuine, because John is funny. And not everyone is. They may try, but with John, because he's smart and he knows what he's writing and he knows his characters. So when you have a person who just wants to be funny and wants things to be sexy and wants things to be diverse, they lose the sight of the characters themselves, and they might lose the joke itself.
Going back to Giant Days, do you have which one of the girls was your favorite to draw?
Daisy is my absolute favorite because she has such a moving body. You can do whatever. She's like noodle. You can put her in any kind of shape you want. I love doing Susan a lot because she's so snarky, but she was really hard to draw when she's smiling. It was when the first time I drew her smiling, I was like, this feels really wrong. But with Daisy, I can draw her having all the expressions. And so she's my absolute favorite. If people ask me, who do you want to draw? I was just Daisy. Daisy all the way.
Pójdę do tyłu może teraz.
I wanted to ask, because you said you were reading comic books for all your life. Are there any titles that you feel like were the biggest inspiration, or were comic books something that pushed you towards drawing in the future and right now?
This is a really long story. I will try to keep it short. My brother is 5 years older than me, and he had, in the 90s, when the Clone Wars, the Spider-Man clone thingy happened, I was introduced to that Spider-Man. I knew Ben Reilly and all that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And everything is gritty and dark. and everyone should have really, really tiny and pointy feet and no inner organs. Okay, fine, that's cool. So I started to draw in that way. I thought that was the only way to draw. And also I read Action Force, G.I. Joe. And whereas I did read Asterix, I read Tintin and some Scandinavian comics as well. I read a broad range, but I thought if I want to make a comic, it has to be in the American way, that nothing else is good enough. But then I saw Persepolis from Marianne thank you, and Blankets from Greg Thompson. And they absolutely changed my life. I was like, these are two absolutely different styles. And they're both comics. You can do whatever kind of comics. Wow. And also in Finland, unfortunately, there there was a very strong and loud group saying that anime and manga is the worst thing ever. And there was just like, there was a saying that if you beat your child hard enough, the anime goes away. It's horrible. So I was like, okay, so I can't draw anything cute. I can't draw anything animated. Gotcha. But then I came to Giant Days, and I realized, oh, I can do whatever I want, really. This is cool. And when people started to say that my style is really cartoony, I was like, is that a compliment or is that not a compliment? I think I will take that as a compliment, and I will try to strive to be more cartoony. And after that, I have tried to become as cartoony as possible.
Good. No hands.
I'm very happy that you said that someone else called your art cartoony, because I'm absolute ignorant, but that's the way I would call it. So Giant Days animated when? Can we get an animated show, please, of Giant Days? It's something that would be, I think, very well translated into a TV show.
I wanted to do an April Fool's prank and make animated, the theme song for Giant Days, but I'm a procrastinator. I'm a perfectionist, and I spend way too much looking at the ceiling and then just looking at my fingers. I thought, I really need to moisturize myself.
But can you possibly imagine a project like that happening? I mean, it needs a whole crew of people committed to that.
And I would hate the fact that I couldn't be part of it, because I would love to animate it. I mean, I love hand-drawn and 2D animation. I love it from the bottom of my heart. I mean, any kind of animation. I mean, stop-motion animation, anything you've done with your hands, I'm just falling in love with it. But I still really want to do, one day I will do the April Fool's thing. One day. It might be when I'm 100, but I will do it.
Okay, I'm going there.
Hello, I was also diagnosed like a year and something ago with ADHD, and I was wondering, because I always ask people with ADHD that, what is like the best advice or something that you learned after you know about your diagnosis that changed your life for the better?
I realized I'm not dumb, and I'm not worthless, and I'm not worse than anyone else. Because before ADHD, I just thought there was something profoundly wrong with me, because I went to academic schools and I saw that, okay, everyone else gets what they are saying. I can't understand, I just can't get it around my head. No matter how hard I tried to read for the tests, I couldn't pass them, because I just couldn't understand what they wanted in the tests. So I thought I was really, really stupid. And it was really pushing me down. But when I got the ADHD diagnosis and they said like, oh, your brain is just wired in a bit different way, I was like, oh, that's a relief. That's a really good thing. And for me, it wasn't, some people say like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, no. It's like, I like being me. I like being the perfectionist idiot who who climbs under the tables and talks too much. I like being me nowadays. But before that, I just thought that there was something wrong. So absolutely, ADHD is like finding the fact that your brain. Plus also, when I got my medication, I remember that the world started to make sense. And I was like, is this what normal people feel like? For example, I was able to fill my tax report, and I understood it, and it didn't take me 3 weeks. Whereas my ADHD test, it took me a month to fill it, because I was so bad at writing it. And for example, I was interviewed about the ADHD, And I was like, oh, can we stop already? It has been half an hour and I'm really bored and I broke a second pen already. So, and the interviewer was just like, yeah, you have ADHD, goodbye.
Good. Any more? Then, yeah, the obvious question at the end of, we have 5 more minutes, is the subject of the female sexuality. That is obviously an important aspect of the story. And I'm guessing it's also an important part of the story for you, too.
No, because for me, everyone is a person in the end. I mean, I think it's good to have presentation that is neutral. For example, John doesn't make a big deal out of it. And I never like to make a big deal about the sexuality because it's such a human thing to have. And
yet it is a huge part of the storyline.
I just didn't really see it. Because for me it's just like, oh, Daisy's having a girlfriend and she's horrible. And, oh well, the grandma gets to know about it and stuff. Oh, spoilers, sorry about that. But it's like, it's not, I don't think her sexuality is a thing, because they mention it like twice in there. And there was like, how did you know that you like boys? Oh, I just like them, said Esther. But, and it's, because it's not that much of a big deal. I mean, Esther loves sex. She loves boys, she loves men, she loves, but still, I don't think it's that big of a part of the story in the end. I think it's just part of their life.
Well, they are teenagers, so obviously the hormones and everything are working, so this is a huge part of their daily life. But I was expecting this to be a kind of a, motor for the story, yeah?
No, I mean, because, well, love is love, that's fact. But for me, I never saw, I think it's really hard for me because I'm not really a person who sees things sexually. Because I've seen my first penis when I was just like, before I could walk, because we have sauna culture, everyone is naked in there. So things aren't really sexual in my head, in no way. For example, Finnish pronouns are all gender neutral.
Right.
So, for example, for me, I use they in English because I can't comprehend she or him, because they are just so weird, because they have such a loaded content in them when you use it. For example, when my mother was congratulated that I got to president ball, and someone said, oh, congratulations for your son. She didn't really correct them, because she was like, oh, Max doesn't care. And the same goes with the story. It's just like, well, they have sex. She happens to like girls, and Esther happens to like guys, and yeah.
Yeah, I guess the discovering of their sexuality was the subject of the first 1 or 2 issues, and then when it was settled in a way, it's not that much important anymore.
Because for her, it's just like, I think it was in issue 4 or something like that. And she was really cute with that one girl, and then the girl didn't like her back in a romantic way. And Esther was like, how dare you turn down my friend? And she was like, oh, I have a right to do so. I was like, oh, sorry about that. And yeah, for me, it was never a big part of the story, because for me, these kind of things are so neutral. So in my stories, I am always happy to see this kind of presentation, because too many times, for example, in TV series, if you have a gay character, if you have a lesbian character, they end up dead. turned straight or otherwise miserable. And the story is always about their sexuality. It's never about their other things that they are. For example, I was once asked to be in a female comic artist panel, and I was just like, I'm sorry, but I do not draw with my vagina. So it doesn't have anything to do with my art. I'm sorry, you're blushing.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm very straightforward.
I find it funny, actually.
Yeah, and that's because it's like, I know that as a just
accurate, not only funny, accurate.
yeah. But because even if I am born female, and I know, for example, when I go and buy a car, I get treated differently than my brother who's a head taller, and is just like smelling musk and just saying, I'm an alpha male, and I know about cars, and I'm just like, I'm a nerd. And I'm a woman, so I know nothing about cars. So we are treated differently. But with comics, I don't think my gender or sexuality should define me, as it shouldn't define any character either.
Very good. So, thank you for being here with us at the 11th Krakow Comic Festival and in Krakow in general. And big applause for Max Sarin.
Thank you.
Bardzo Państwu dziękujemy. Za moment rozpoczyna się kolejny panel poświęcony antologii komiksów kobiecych pod tytułem Herstorie aborcyjne, własnym głosem herstorie aborcyjne. I ekipa już podtakuje, czyli przekręciłem trochę tytuł, ale to się zaraz wszystko nam tutaj wyjaśni, jak tylko zaprosimy nasze gościnie do stolika. 5 minut przerwy na wywietrzenie sali. Max, teraz tam w holu będzie coś mogła wam napisać, podpisać, narysować. Tak, proszę. So now you have a few minutes for drawing. Yeah, I'm probably going to give you mine for a first.
Absolutely. Which character do you want?
I guess Esther.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be cool.